I just want to let you guys know that at long last, finally figured out why there's like eggs and crap on Easter.
Explain it.
So I am confusion.
I was too for many years. I do think that I was maybe a little bit presumptive in my anger.
Okay.
I should have
you
done
have a
more
lot of anger towards the Easter Bunny.
Huh?
You have a lot of rage. A lot. Pent up rage.
To the point where like I was considering starting to just have my diet consist of hare, rabbit, and bunny with some chicken. Just because, and if I did do like chicken, I would be like rabbit stuffed, chicken stuffed rabbit.
Yeah, you don't even know what you're asking for.
Like that's where you make like rabbit sausages. So you stuff the chicken and the rabbit intestine.
I wanted to model worthiness.
But so as I was talking with Lauren about the topic today, which is a clip from a podcast where there's this Christian, this hot new thing in Christianity. There was a hot new thing named Johnny Chang, and he's still hot, but things have stabilized.
The
now
latest and greatest is now this guy. The latest and greatest is now this guy for now.
Yeah, like this hot new thing.
Yeah,
that Christians really are like going gaga over.
Okay.
Gabby, will you accept this rose?
The one who has accepted the rose. This guy named Wes Huff, who he blew up because he was on Joe Rogan.
Wes Huff?
Yes, he blew up on Joe Rogan. He was invited on Joe Rogan.
Oh wow, okay.
His background is in like.
But he's like a Jesus believing Christian.
Yeah, he's a Christian dude.
Because Christians,
you know
don't.
What?
Christians don't.
I might have a pet peeve that I just figured out. I just figured this out.
I was gonna say because Christians don't go on to the Joe Rogan show. You know, like
I just figured out a pet peeve. I may have beef with the phrase "solid Christian."
Yeah, that's why I was making fun. That's why I was trying to be.
I almost said, and I was like, "Hold on a second,"
because I was trying to be a weirdo.
He's a solid Christian.
I know. That's why I was.
Dude, he's solid. No, dude. No, my pastor's solid. I'm not using it anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yes. That's the sound of me abandoning that phrase. I'm never using it.
Well, you didn't say it. I said it.
No, I don't think you said it.
I think I said it. I was trying to be dorky.
You said Wes Huff is a solid believer?
I don't know. I thought I said something stupid. Anyways, I personally...
This is perfect.
I personally don't love when I, in my heart, try to establish someone's faith. Or when other people do that for like me or other people. I'm like, you know what? You've taught me this. Actually, you humbled me with this. Yeah. It's like we genuinely don't know each other's hearts.
Yeah.
Only God sees.
I'm
going to
say it appears that you love God.
Yes.
I'm not saying any type of the three states in the
I hope there's more Christians than I think.
And solid.
I hope there's more Christians than I think.
The doctrine of the Trinity.
Can you play that one more time, please?
No, just like inhale laughing.
Can you play that one more time, please?
Yes.
The doctrine of the Trinity.
I just need to hear him say. Yeah, I didn't hear him put the "and" in Trinity.
I know. Trinity.
Or NT, sorry. Yeah.
Trinity.
I didn't hear him put the Trent.
It's not even Trinity. It's like, it's crazy.
He appears to love the Lord with all his heart.
Okay.
And he was on Joe Rogan. His background is
soul like and mind too, or
say it again.
Just does he like appear to love God with his whole?
Was it bang time when he was on the podcast?
No, I'm saying heart, soul, and mind, or are you just talking about heart? Like
he was the heart,
just
soul,
heart.
Actually, mind. The mind. And that's kind of the reason he was on the Joe Rogan Experience is because of the mind. He seems to love the Lord with all his mind.
Sure,
for sure. I know that's true.
Okay.
And his background is in like manuscripts and like history in relation to like biblical history. In other words, he's the right kind of person to be on Joe Rogan.
Okay.
So he blew up. He's that new thing in Christianity.
Okay.
Again, people are going gaga.
Okay.
Yeah. And I wish we had baby sound effects. And he was on another podcast called the Flagrant Podcast. It's just like a bunch of comedians.
Okay.
Your mileage
non-Christian comedians.
Yeah, they're not Christian as well. It's also a big podcast.
Okay. Wait, didn't you say someone calls himself an Orthodox?
The host, his name is Andrew Schulz.
Okay.
And I believe he claims to be an Orthodox Christian.
Okay.
There's also someone on the podcast who grew up Christian. I don't believe he is now, but he seems to have some background with Christianity, with Christianity.
Okay.
And they had Wes on to talk about a lot of things.
That's really cool, actually.
It is. It's pretty
that's
insane
encouraging.
Considering the types of things that people who are listening would be learning. These are like things that you
like
would
the audience
not learn if you were casually interested in, or that is not things that non-Christians are exposed to very often.
Right.
And they're very like, wow.
Yeah.
Evidences to the truthiness of the Bible and God and Jesus and all that.
Dang,
the historicity
that's really
of
cool. Well, praise the Lord for that.
Honestly. It is pretty amazing.
That's
Skeptics
really cool.
bow down. So they had him on, and there was a moment in the podcast where it's like the whole podcast they're talking, and it's like fun. They're making jokes back and forth, like they're generally having a good time. And it isn't that they stopped having a good time, but it's like it went from museum type Christianity where you're like observing it's like you're going through like the Bible museum and you're seeing all this cool stuff, to like you get to the end of the museum and like the tour guide asks you to make a choice, and like one room is hell and one room is heaven. And the tour guide is like not joking. And then like and then like everyone in the line is like visibly uncomfortable because like they didn't necessarily come to like become a Christian. They just came.
Someone is following me.
They just came to see like wood fragments from the ark or something, or like dinosaur bones. So they start asking him about basically questions that orbit the central question of like, what about the person who hasn't heard? Adjacent to that.
That's one that is hard for Christians to cover. It
is a hard question, but it's like it's kind of an expanded version more broadly.
Okay.
What about good people? Now, I think as a Christian, here's the thing that I wonder.
That's a dicey question.
Here's the thing I wonder.
Okay.
And sometimes I feel like when the Bible, in my opinion, when the Bible talks about having an answer for the hope that is in you, to people who are more apologetics minded or feeling like they. How about this? Maybe this will be encouraging.
Okay.
Feeling like you can't share the gospel with people because if
you're not
get a
learned
question,
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You won't know what to say. I almost feel like this question proves the opposite. That like,
interesting.
Sometimes simply sharing who you know God to be is enough.
Like your personal story, maybe.
Your personal
versus
story.
Versus a scholarly answer that's made for like a big classroom, like making it more personal.
Not only making it more personal, and honestly, even just speaking to like God, like who is God?
God's nature. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because I feel like the answer that I'm not saying I would never, ever criticize.
Very
like,
demure, very mindful.
Criticize Wes's performance.
Sure.
Can I call it a performance?
I mean, you can. Performance for Christ, man.
Are we as evangelists? Are we performers?
I mean, perform with the Holy Spirit in your heart, man. Get it? I think the word perform is too akin to actual like I'm trying to earn money and entertain. But if you look up the definition, I mean, you're trying to like accomplish something and keep people's attention. That could be. That could be something.
Are we as Christians who seek to save the lost? Are we performers? Are we Christian? Are we Christian?
I know some people just hate our dreams and visions, even our prophecies.
I'm going to start calling myself
oh my gosh.
a performer.
Oh my
gosh. Oh my gosh. That's incredible. So I'm going to play. Here's what I'm going to do. Yeah, that's my show. That's my show tune. I'm going to play. I can't figure out how to like organize this content and my struggle to like be a better content creator myself. I'm going to play.
Is it because there's just too much juice in this?
There's a lot. And
okay.
it will take too long to like go over everything. So I'm going to try and keep it clamped down to one thing.
Ooh, you're going to hurt yourself with those things.
With those T's. We'll listen to the clips. And
okay.
I just want to maybe just help us think about just the whole idea of what it means to be a good person. And
okay. Like someone saying, but they're a good person.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
I feel like this is more prolific. I've in my own personal experiences talking to people about God, I've heard this several times, this type of argument. So I've had time to, I guess, I don't know, think about why I think God's way is just superior to the notion of like goodness among human goodness. OSS. I shouldn't have said OSS because I know what it means.
I don't know what that means.
I know what it means. Okay, so here's the first part. He's talking about here his dad. So his Andrew, the podcast host, dad was Catholic, I think, and then defected, if I can say that. It's like defected. Is no longer Catholic, but obviously having that influence still has some shadows of Catholicism and just his view of life and how he conducts himself. So he's talking about his dad here.
Even this guy.
But like, I don't know a person I don't know somebody that doesn't lead a more Christian life. If you asked him, he's like, yeah, I'm just being a nice guy. I'm trying to help people when I can. Like he is. So he still finds this immense value in this belief system without the belief. Yeah. Now the cost could be eternal salvation, which sucks. But while you're here on earth, it seems to have really helped him.
Sure.
So I'm just curious how you reconcile that. Like, okay, there are these people out there that are leading these quote unquote Christian lives, but they're maybe not believing some of the things that you've said. So maybe they're not leading a Christian life, but they're following. As a matter of fact, they might be leading better lives than some of these Christians who do believe all these things. Yeah. So which one does God value more? Does God value the Christian who's like, you know what, I'm a sinner, I am a piece of shit, I believe that God is my savior, I'm going to keep on doing all this, but I am a piece of shit, that's why I'm doing it. But God died for my sins, but I'm going to try. But he's a piece of shit entire life and he hurts people. Or do you think God is more favorable to the person who goes, yeah, I don't know if I really believe it, but I really like being nice to people and kind and trying to help my neighbor and trying to help anybody I can and trying to be a positive force on the world?
Okay, so let me say two things. Number one, I think, and this is I'm talking about just the sentiments, and obviously someone saying this, please express like what you really think, because that's awesome. I'm glad he felt comfortable sharing this. But two things. First one, sometimes I wonder if people who say this type of thing, it almost feels like you're not tapped into like goons. Here's what I mean.
Yeah, you've lost me.
When I was not a Christian, and I still struggle with this to some extent even to this day, and I'm not, okay, I feel like I'm about to do the thing where people are like, oh, I have OCD, but like they don't actually have OCD. You know what I'm saying? Like they give themselves a clinical diagnosis. They give themselves a clinical diagnosis. They give themselves a diagnosis over something that you really need to see like a licensed someone to tell you if you have this. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But I'll just say it the way it feels for me.
Okay, valid.
I very much
speak your truth.
It's hard for me to care about anyone. Like it is very easy for me to go through life making sure that I feel good, and whoever can help me along the way to feel good, thank you. But I genuinely feel no obligation to reciprocate anything. So like it motivated a lot of how I spoke with people. It motivated a lot of how I related to people, the things I would say to ultimately come back and have the return be Shate feels like he has value and meaning. So this will lead me to do all sorts of crazy things. Furthermore, when I wasn't a Christian, I just straight up felt like the purpose of life was simply to just get as much pleasure out of life as you can, irrespective of what it does to other people. And I genuinely like it's hard for me to like I'm never mowing my neighbor. That Shate is never mowing his neighbor's grass. Like if I see you in a wheelchair and like you're having a hard time getting into your doorway, I'll just say excuse me and like push your wheelchair forward a little bit so I can get past you. Like I just
you make yourself sound like the worst.
But like I really think like this.
Like you're just natural.
I just don't care, and it isn't even malicious. I just don't. It's like I don't understand how to care. You understand what I mean? Like it doesn't register to me. Okay, I'll say this. To this day, I don't get why somebody would like fix their neighbor's car. Like your dad taking time out of his schedule to like check your car out. Why?
Like you still don't get it?
Kind of.
Okay, so okay, I'm context here, guys. I'm his wife. I'm laughing because he treats me well.
Sure.
And I haven't been feeling.
I would say God has definitely.
I was going to say God's clearly reprogrammed you. But that's what I'm saying. So when you're not in a dark headspace and you're not giving into like your natural proclivity, you know that if you have the skill to fix that guy's car for free, and you can reasonably make the time, that would be very loving and like servant minded. Right? Like you at least acknowledge that, right? Because the Bible does call us to serve each other.
I hear
not like
that,
to break your back for other people. I do think some people say yes to too many things. I will say
on
that.
the spot, live.
Sure.
I hear that like saying 3 + 7 is 10. So yeah, you are correct. But I'm as attached to the 10 as I am to the person fixing my car. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
And that's like 5/8/2025. That's today.
3, 4, 5.
The reason why I say sometimes it feels sociopathic is because I know a trait of sociopaths. I'm not saying I'm a sociopath, but I know a trait of psychopathy. A trait of actually not sociopath, but psychopaths. One of the traits of psychopaths is like they just genuinely don't understand right and wrong. It's like being dyslexic. Sure. Like it's a genuine mental handicap. So they almost have to learn it like they learn math.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like I have to learn selflessness like I have to learn math. You know what I'm saying?
This sounds horrible. Like I'm not saying that this sounds fun. I'm not laughing at your pain in life.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you call yourself to be, or I shouldn't say if you God calls you to be a Christian. But if you're accepting Jesus in your heart and you want to be a Christian in this life, that's a real struggle.
It is. No, it actually is. And it's why I think the Lord has more convicted me of my selfishness. Because it's easy for me to just and again, it's not malicious. It's just I don't get it.
And to be clear, I'm not an angel of like I'm always thinking of other people. You definitely are. No,
God definitely foreknew because He paired me up with you, someone who is absolutely the opposite and very selfless.
I've appreciated your personality in our marriage because sometimes I do feel like I can get on the rabbit trail what he's talking about because I think you're kind of implying you're having a hard time like thinking about how do people even naturally say I would like to do these things. Yeah, I'm a good person.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, like, exactly right.
It's more natural for me to do that, but in a dark space, I might be using those things to either get away from my own problems or to feel good about myself. Yeah. Or because I need to. Like, it's very hard for me as an introvert.
You don't see it as like God served you, so then be like
There's
Christ.
so many times I serve that my intentions are not pure. Yeah. Or really, like, when I was grocery shopping after work regularly at my other job, that was really, I had a toxic boss. It was like a hard day every day. Like, I had to report them to HR, so it was like a really, really bad job. But every day I went to the grocery store, I would keep my head down. I would look mean. I would be like so mission minded that I'm like, these are not humans I'm pushing against to get to my things. Like I'm just like so on point because I want to get in and out. Yeah. And I want to get home and like take my shower and watch my anime or whatever. Right. So very selfish. But I was like, you know what, God, I feel convicted to treat these people like humans. Like they're also having a day. They're at the grocery store. They're trying to get their means. So like I was actively trying to seek out situations like a old lady doesn't feel like she can reach something. I'm going to grab it for her. Yeah. I had a weird conversation with another lady on the spice aisle and it was like, oh, that's so cute. And it was like a moment of humanness. Yeah. Not really about God.
No, I understand what you mean.
But I'm so sensitive to that line of like, am I challenging myself to do this because I know I should be, or am I doing it because my heart is pure?
Yeah, exactly.
So like, even if God feeds me the thought, is the end part of it still pure? Like it's hard.
It is.
Like being a quote unquote good person.
It is.
What?
To the extent that I don't think that he even understands what he's saying. I've forgotten.
And that's with the Holy Spirit.
I've forgotten what number 2 was. So we'll have to.
Oh, my bad.
No.
What he said?
The second I started talking, I forgot. So it wasn't your fault.
He said 2 things. Is that?
I was gonna say 2 things. I can only remember the first one.
Honey.
No. I think it'll come back later. But
you are finally an astronaut.
What you shared is really important, Lauren, because I think it does point towards the fact of there are ways you act. There are ways. and I'm not necessarily saying non-Christians can't do this, but I just think there are ways you act when you are truly doing something selflessly in the way that God died for us type selflessness.
Got you, yeah.
And so like I know that it can be relative for different people, but when you say that you're actually like aware of the people around you, that to me shows like you are at a place where God.
I had to pray for that though.
Yeah, exactly.
Or for the energy to engage.
Sure. So let me skip forward to another part here.
Ooh, can you say that again? Borg
I would say
husband?
What'd you say?
Cyborg husband.
Did you guys want to add for a air conditioning unit in the state of Washington?
Sure.
Do you guys want to add for that? All right, so here's another part here.
It's you part of the way. What I would say is that your evolutionary inclination to be moral only scratches the surface of the euphoria you can experience when you lean into the will of God or being a good person. In other words, just not killing doesn't make me feel good. I've not killed my whole life. Helping my neighbor for no other reason than to just help him, and in the moment like feels annoying. I'm like, why am I going to go do this? Immediately afterwards, I'm like, man, I'm really glad that I did that. And like, I felt connected to that person, and they felt really grateful, and like, wow, I feel really, that act of altruism made me feel really good.
Yeah, that doesn't happen to me. That's the type of stuff that I'm just saying I can't relate to. You know what I mean? Like I just
that get back type.
I just don't. I just really don't care.
Wow. Do you care when it's like homies or friends or family or something?
Barely.
Is that because
I'm just built different?
Wow. Okay. I'm just married to the devil, y'all.
I'm just playing.
I'm just
and this is what I would say would be walking closer to God. And I think Christianity and other religions give this really compelling argument for, hey, yes, you are doing these things, atheists. You're already doing these good things. You could even lean further into that and feel the fruit of that connectivity. I'm just saying, I think there are people who have realized this sometimes in spite of religion and sometimes without religion, and they've continued to lean into it. And I think God is smart enough to realize that they're getting to the same place. And that might be what Hinduism is seeing.
That's yeah.
Let me play another clip too. I think he.
So his buddy that's on the podcast, who's another comedian, is a Hindu. Is that who he was pointing to?
Hindu background. I don't know if he himself is Hindu.
Oh, not like practicing per se. Okay.
Hindu background.
Sure,
yes.
sure.
Nathan, works. So you explain one version. Then what's the inverse of that? What are the person that don't claim to be Christians yet everything in their works shows that they are?
Sure. I would say ultimately
the substance is Christian, but the form is not.
Right. So I would say that when Jesus is asked, what is the greatest commandment? He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. All the good works, if they're not done in the love of God, that is actually a commandment that someone who doesn't believe cannot fulfill.
Wait, say it again?
Yeah.
Say it again?
That's crazy, dude.
Say it again.
Right. So I get asked sometimes, like, is there something that a Christian can do that an atheist can't morally?
There's something a Christian can do that an atheist can't
morally.
No.
And I would say yes, and it's love God. The atheist doesn't want to. He's not going to do it, and he can't do it.
Yeah.
And that is when Jesus is asked, what is the greatest commandment? That's the thing he points to.
See, this is where, like,
the secret to our deodorant is sand.
Yeah, this is where the ad plays.
That was a funny transition.
I think that we're not giving God enough credit. Because I think God is looking at the atheist who lives a quote-unquote Christian life, and the atheist goes, I don't believe in God. And I think God's up there like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Really quick, what does it mean? You know what? Never mind. Let's just continue.
So,
but that's how high I view God.
Sure.
Like I feel like God is so powerful, so intelligent that he's aware of our little intellectualizing of who he is and how we behave.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's like, it's like when your kid first starts learning stuff in school and they're like 11, they start trying to tell you what the stars are. And you're like, yeah, sure. It's exactly what they are. And that's exactly how history is. And you just it's adorable.
Chuckle. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so.
To that point that he just said about us being like little kids, getting stuff wrong, on very important things, and God being like, that's adorable. I know what you mean. I think we actually have a precedent for that, how God actually does respond. And it's not to simply affirm.
No, and we do. God has interacted with so many humans.
Huh?
God's interacted verbally and with so many humans in the Bible.
Nineveh.
Yeah.
In the Bible, God, let me read it to you real quick because the language is pretty insane. But in Jonah, at the end, when Jonah's like mad because God sent Jonah to Nineveh, which if you know anything about the times back then, Nineveh was a part of Assyria, which became or was absorbed by Babylon, something like that. But these were people who were like pretty scary. Babylon obviously destroyed Samaria and Judah, both of the places where the Israelites lived. And Nineveh was just like a scary place. But at the end, Jonah, Jonah gets mad that this little flower that grew up and gave him shade dies. Jonah's pissed. And God said so in verse 9 it says, God said to Jonah, is your anger about the shrub a good thing? Jonah said, yes, my anger is good, even to the point of death. So like Jonah's just like stubbornly mad.
What the freak?
Which is kind of funny.
He knew that the plant wasn't there in the first place. God grew it to help give him shade and help him not be sunburned.
Yes. So then God says, but the Lord said, you pitied the shrub for which you didn't work and which you didn't raise. It grew in the night and perished in the night. Yet for my part, can't I pity Nineveh, that great city, in which there are more than 120,000 people who can't tell their right hand from their left? This is exactly what Homeboy is talking about. With
you're wasting valuable time, minutes you can't get back.
This is exactly what God is addressing.
Yeah.
These ignorant people who are just like fumbling around trying to figure out who is God. Like, how do we ascend? God's like, okay, let me introduce myself to you then.
Right.
Let me identify myself. Either I'll just show up or I'll send my servants to tell you about me. Here's what's funny, and this just came to me. So what he's talking about, like you could like reduce that down to people who are concerned, rightly, I think, for the people who don't know God for lack of exposure, or just like, it's hard because we live in a country that's like saturated with like the presence of Christian stuff, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
But trying to imagine somebody who's just trying to do their best. Let's just assume the absolute best, because this is to me even like I'm giving humans too much benefit of the doubt. But let's just assume they're just trying to do their absolute best. The Muslim in deep in Afghanistan in an Afghani cave, really just trying to live his best life and do good for everybody, and truly just thinks that Allah is like the guy, is him, right?
Anyone else got any questions?
Andrew's essentially looking at this person thinking like, well, isn't that good enough? Like I think Andrew would say like, isn't God looking at him saying, okay, my name's not Allah, it's Jesus, but I see you, man. I see you, so it's all good. Like that's kind of when he's like the gotcha wink or whatever.
The comedian dude is trying to get to that point. Yeah.
Like even if I assume the absolute best, holy smokes, I'm in danger. I was on a roll setting myself up. And like I said, it just came to me, and it's gone just as quickly as it came.
Really?
So struggle more, suffer more, and lament your own powerlessness.
I can't believe it. It's
just lament.
Listen, let me tell you guys something.
Lament.
Sleep 8 hours a night.
I know, right?
It's right.
Or actually just never sleep less than 7 at the very least.
Yeah, sleep.
Because I slept almost 6, and it's made me a wacky kid today.
I am a spinning, whirling example of what happens to you when you just chronically be clown yourself.
Yes.
That is disgraceful.
Let me jog my memory. Can I jog my memory live?
Yeah, I was gonna say, please go ahead.
Okay.
That's what I assume God is doing, and that's how I guess that's how I solve the problem for the person on the island, or the good person that was never given Christianity, or the person that was given like this horrible bastardized version of it. They were molested by some priests, and like they're going to feel that disconnect to this beautiful source because of that horrible individual, and now they don't get eternal salvation because of what this horrible person did. Like, yet the rest of their life they're being good, and they're being pure, and they're being true. Yeah. You know, like despite them saying they don't. I think God is looking at that like, listen, I know your heart, and you're doing the right thing. And I think God is looking at those people who say they believe in God, but they're doing these horrible acts, and they're like, you're not going to trick me. I'm not, because you act.
So he's actually partially correct to the part where he said, like, you're not tricking me. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Jesus' ministry was kind of a significant part of Jesus' ministry was to the Pharisees, you're not tricking me. and you're also not tricking these people anymore. Yes. So that is true. The other part, though.
Yeah, like breaking down the tables near the tabernacle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you're no longer going to trick them into thinking this is the way that we run.
Correct. Yes.
This is the way we should run our show.
Yes. The other part, however, of God passively winking at people who are just floundering. I wonder if people who believe this realize how narrow that is. Let me just present something to y'all and come to your own conclusions.
Okay.
Now let's consider God was like this. He sees the Muslim trapped in Iran, trying to do his best and serve his community, thoroughly Muslim, versus a Christian who lives versus somebody who lives a terrible life, in and out of prison, ruin his community selling drugs, goes to jail, and runs a prison gang, shanks and nearly kills somebody in jail, bumps into another Christian in jail, meets Jesus, genuinely gives his life to Christ, 2 days into his new life gets killed. Now the Muslim and the Christian are in heaven together. And let's say the Muslim overhears this dude's life and then sees the dude walk in, the gates open to him.
Sure.
Would it be fair to say there are some people who would be in that Muslim's position who would be extremely angry?
I mean, even ask, I will raise both hands because
it's cut. And even ask the question, what did I do all this for?
Well, I'm like the fairness police.
Yeah.
And I really believe in justice.
Yes.
And I know that God has to work on that in me sometimes. Sure. Because like when I read the story of the master who paid the workers who came at the very end of the shift.
Was our topic in church today.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. Are you talking about? Oh, no, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Don't think so.
Sorry. Prodigal son is what I was thinking. Go ahead. The master who paid the person at the end of the day.
Yes. The same wages as they paid the people who'd worked all day.
Yes.
So it doesn't feel fair. That would tick me off if I were the worker from the first half of the day. But genuinely and truly, it's the master's money. He could do whatever he wants with it.
And he even, in the scripture says that, right?
Yes, it does. And it's like having that concept in life. I honestly remember reading that Bible verse again, like last year or something like that. And I was like, dang, God, okay.
Triggered afresh?
Well, no, I was like actually understanding what it was speaking to.
Oh, sure.
Like I remember thinking like, oh yeah, duh. And then I like read it thinking about myself and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. That sentiment that he shared also, the funny thing is, it's almost like the not knowing God has an effect on how good you can be.
Yeah, it does.
If you don't know God and if you don't know God, your standard is probably what you think. It's not necessary. It could be.
Well, it has to be. I mean, you don't know.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
You do not have it. You don't have the Holy Spirit inside you.
Well, I was leaving room for like your culture.
Oh, that's a good point. But I mean, but
your culture is just a bunch
that's
of.
What you think.
Huh?
You digest.
Correct. Yeah. You may disagree with some.
You digest your
yes.
culture, and then obviously you're doing what you believe.
Yes.
There are people who might just say, "I don't know what I believe, and I'm following something someone else says," but I don't think that would be a very common occasion.
So, like, according to what you believe is good, is God obligated to simply accept your version of good?
I will be scroll healing.
Like, is God bound to us? Therefore, like, does God serve us? Because if
we can scroll heal, we can look good and be healthy in any setting. I'm just being a gnome.
I mean, I like what you said about scroll healing. Have you done it before? Have you dabbled?
Yeah.
In scroll healing?
Yeah. But I mean, no. The answer is no. Because we think we can make ourselves look clean enough for God. But that's kind of like, it's a hard concept to explain to non-Christians.
Yeah.
But that's a huge, like, cornerstone of Christianity. We can never get clean enough to get into heaven just based on works.
I just wonder what is an
and
atheist,
like, I don't want that.
What is an atheist?
I don't want the pressure of that.
Well, the thing is, you don't want that. I'm talking about, like, the people. Do you really want to live a life where you're grinding to be good enough to make sure? Like, how do you even? I mean, this is okay. Anyways, how do you even know, like, when you've?
Yeah.
How would you ever know?
No, I don't know. You wouldn't.
Like,
you would cross your
fingers.
Cross your fingers when you die, and say, "Hope I did enough."
And what if God just, like, randomly was
people
like...
People could become addicted to doing good things because...
Okay. Here's a good one. Here's a good one.
You know, scared.
How often do we do stuff that we just have no clue that, like, we're doing something that bothers somebody?
100%.
What if you showed up to heaven and God was like, you know, every time you dropped off turkeys to the homeless shelter, you would post about it on Instagram. That bugs the crap out of me, dude.
Handcuff him.
Cut this out.
I just think there's so many problems and so many potential surprises that you might show up to heaven and be like, wow, you're not me?
Yeah.
Wow, you don't think exactly like I do about goodness? So you mean I spent all this time trying to be a good person and you don't even agree with what I think is a good person?
Yeah.
Now here's the part that I think it's really important to grab a hold of. When in regard to like making salvation available to as many people as possible.
Sure. Yes.
In positing being a good person, you have eliminated a significant portion of humanity.
Ooh, I love that.
So your version of Christianity is very exclusive.
So it's also like it's gonna not look good to the people who are living a life that's kind of like shady and dark and really need God.
How many people do you know have given up on life because they have done something that scarred them, that
and dark.
They did something bad to somebody, and now they have no something has been sapped from them. Like I've had friends who have done things that were not good, and there was a period of their life where there was something like missing from their character.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I do. And what I was trying to formulate in my mind just now is I know you're not saying, so don't do good acts in front of people so that you can look at least scuzzy so that you could talk to the scuzzy people. You're saying don't be pompously doing good things, to just do good works and look like a goody two-shoes.
Right.
That's unapproachable.
Exactly.
And living life like that. Because honestly, if you're living in a works-based faith, you do become a little holier than thou.
100%.
Which I've been there.
100%.
I'm speaking
it's like
from
CrossFitters.
Yeah, right? Like they're so high on themselves.
It's like
Let me join your gym, CrossFitters.
Here's another thing too. I think he casually says something that it's not a casual statement. The atheist living the Christian life who just doesn't believe a couple of things that you do. Again, I'm not like hating on him, but he's saying like the atheist who says, I'm a good person, I just don't believe in Jesus. Think of it like this, y'all. if the most perfect being that has ever existed, let's just for the sake of argument, let's assume God is the most perfect being. So I'm saying to someone who maybe doesn't believe,
right? Because we obviously
God,
believe that, but yes,
the perfect being, okay, logically would know everything perfectly. Now let's say that this being is also okay. An atheist has to at least reject who God says he is, not a caricature. So God would claim to be all loving, and you
all
name
knowing,
it.
yeah.
For you as an atheist to reject this entity, assuming that this entity is true, there's something seriously wrong with you. Like, what would it take for me to have a millionaire build me a house? My neighbor, who I used to be friends with, lives in a crappy house that I used to live in.
Sure.
For that millionaire to say, you want me to build him a house too? What would it take for me to say no? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So in other words, you say no and then you deliver turkeys to the food bank, I'm scared of you.
Yeah.
Because you just said no to building, like, what type? What? You know what I mean? Like,
sick, get tight
what?
Beat.
Huh?
I said sick, get tight beat.
But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's simply rejecting Jesus it's not
you like skin?
it's not like you're saying no to, like, hey, do you want to go to Shake Shack tonight?
Yeah.
Nah. It's not that type of no.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when you're talking about good people, does a good person say no to Jesus?
No.
Just throwing it out there. You don't even got to answer that.
Yes.
Does a good person say no to Jesus?
No, I was like spacing out. Sorry. I was thinking of playing.
Well, some people thought maybe I was playing favorites with hot dogs. We'll say that.
And honestly, I couldn't think of how it related. I just wanted to hear it.
I was
just spacing out over there. I was being naughty.
Yeah.
No, and I don't think there is. We can't answer that.
I guess
or where we can, and we would say yes to both of the things, because there's all types of people who say yes and no to God.
I guess saying that you think highly of God. I don't know if I played that clip here, but saying like you think you think because I hold God in such high regard, I think he would be smart enough to see someone doing good works and be like, okay, even though you don't believe in me, you're trying to be like me.
Yeah. He's like, I would think God would be smart enough, which is a very weird comment to say.
Yeah, that just confirms that, like, you don't, like, you truly, and not a slam.
I know.
You truly don't know who God is.
Yeah.
In a profound way, like.
God is wisdom. God is knowledge. So yes, he knows all things. He created your brain, so he knows.
So I guess
it's
hard
to have these conversations with people who don't believe that God created them. You know, I don't know if it's going to integrate well.
No, go ahead.
With what you had, or like the stuff
will.
before. But I was thinking of this just on my own when
Please.
we were listening to these clips. Samuel was a young boy who got donated to serve the church, and he worked for Eli. And in this story, Eli is like the priest who's blind and old.
Let me set this up for you, because I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
This is to the notion of, again, a good person trying to do the right thing, but kind of fumbling in ignorance. Like, does God see that person?
And not quite that, but yes.
Okay, sorry, guys.
No, it's okay.
Go ahead.
That's okay.
Oh my gosh.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
You shouldn't be. I love you, baby.
Go ahead.
Sure, yeah, honey. That's wonderful. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, now I'm laughing. Samuel. So the Lord is basically the Lord is literally audibly talking to Samuel, which is a crazy story.
Yeah.
Of God's calling this guy's name out to wake him up from sleep. So he keeps saying, Samuel. And it says, this is 1 Samuel 3, by the way. And Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, here I am, for you called me. And he said, I did not call you, my son. Lie down again. And so this goes on a couple times.
The person who said, I didn't call you is?
The person who said, I didn't call you is the old blind priest, Eli, who does know God. But Samuel is this young kid who doesn't know God yet. And he keeps getting woken up. The Lord called Samuel again the third time. So he's done it 3 times. And then he goes to Eli again. Therefore, Eli said to Samuel, so Eli the priest is saying to Samuel now, Go lie down, and if he calls you again, speak, Lord, for your servant hears. Because so, blah blah blah. I shouldn't say that about the Bible.
Blah, blah, blah.
I'm just reading in like weird order. Eli the priest acknowledges because he has prior knowledge of God and like things that might go on. But it said, I think I scrolled. So chapter 1. Wow. I'm like,
okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
1 Samuel 3:7. This is what I meant to start with. I'm so sorry, guys. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, you're good.
Now Samuel did not know the Lord, and the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. So this whole thing starts with that premise. So God, so my thought
this
of
happened
this,
before God was like Samuel.
Samuel didn't even know God. He's been sweeping in the temple. He's been helping out. He's been like the little, temple slave boy, but he doesn't have any knowledge of why he's doing good acts. By the way, he's doing good things, but he doesn't have any clue of why or for who he's doing them for. But I'm just saying, like, their argument of what about the guy on the island? God can call out the guy on the island. Gosh. God can speak to anyone he pleases at any time.
Oh my gosh.
He's powerful. He's loving. He is omnipresent.
Yes.
He saw the situation and he was like, I'm going to call this kid out by name and wake him up and enter his life like on my own accord.
That's crazy.
So
that's so good.
I don't know where people are going to end up if they're not reached by missionaries. So like we should all keep trying and we should all keep trying to reach the lost for sure. Yeah. Especially, scary secluded islands and places that don't have, as much evangelism. Mm-hmm. But God is perfectly capable of speaking to the lost without any human help.
Yes.
So I'm not just saying like let's just sit back and relax.
No,
but
you're right.
God is cool, and God has stories proving that He's done it. And there's so many different stories we've heard of testimonies. That one guy who found scriptures like on toilet paper.
Yes, the guy in prison who found who the Russian guard or something would like poop. They like use the toilet paper, the scriptures. No, I'm mixing stories up. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we have weird testimonies.
Thank you, Lord.
You
thank you, Lord and Lauren. You made me remember what I was going to say earlier.
Okay. Tally ho.
Two things actually, because something fresh just came up.
We all say true.
When people like this, people who think this way, what about the person who's never heard? What about these good people who are ignorant? Well, he's saying who reject God, and that's a completely different situation.
That is
but good people, quote unquote, who are ignorant.
Offered it and
I think
knowingly
this is fair to
no.
say.
It's different.
Why don't if you are this concerned, why don't you become a Christian and go tell them? I think that's fair. It's like when people ask, "Hey, why can't my kids check into kids' church today?" Oh, because there's not enough volunteers. Oh, okay.
Do either you or your partner volunteer back there?
I think it is fair to say, like, how about this? I think God could rightly say to you, like, if you were to bring this charge against God, well, you could have followed me and I would have sent you out there to tell them. But I had to do it myself.
Yeah.
Number two.
It is funny that he's bringing up issues that shouldn't matter to him as a non-Christian.
Yeah, he's
like trying to find holes.
Yeah,
but he's trying to find holes in a faith he's not a part of.
It seems that way. He would claim to be, but it seems
kind
that
of.
Way. And then number two.
Not that that's not okay.
Yeah. No, God, again,
God
not hating
can handle
on him.
all the questions.
This would be not a bad conversation if we were chatting with him. Also, oh man, did it leave again?
Oh no.
No, it's all good. I was talking about people. Oh yes. I got to get better sleep. Another thing that happens too, when we do go to these people that you guys are so concerned about, and when I say you guys, I'm talking about people of this disposition, not him. I don't think he would do this, but people who say things like, "What about the person who's never heard?" When we do get the courage to go out there and we get killed for it, y'all make fun of us and say, "Leave like y'all are colonials."
Yes.
Do you remember the Asian dude?
Yep.
Who went to North Sentinel Island, an unreached people group?
Yep.
I just heard like 2 weeks ago, and I was like kind of sad. I was like, this dude lost his life, and you're just like kind of making light of it. A dude I like actually on this podcast, Channel 5, Andrew Callahan, kind of like made jokes about that Christian dude getting killed by the tribal people, but like in the sense of like,
I mean, Channel 5 dude doesn't
he's not Christian, but I'm saying like that they were calling him stupid. Like they were calling the Asian guy stupid for trying to reach this people group. So it's like even when we do, you saw something outside?
Just a fluffy, but I thought it was like a bird.
Got you.
Sorry.
When we do try to do the things that some of y'all are so concerned about, you call us stupid. So it's like, what? Okay, then what do you want?
Yeah,
Should
what
they
do you
just
want?
go to hell?
That is that's valid.
So okay, again, and I'm not saying that.
I actually didn't mean to.
I didn't think you did. I'm not saying he's saying that. I guess the moral of all of this, especially for you trying to navigate these types of conversations, to an extent, you have to understand that there is when you are ignorant, and you were this way too. So like, humble yourself.
Still, like not in the greater sense of ignorance, but like of not knowing God. But
when you're ignorant of God and the things of God, you just truly don't understand who God is and what God asks of us, because you're an outsider. And it's not like an exclusive thing. It's just it is like a Matrix moment when you become a Christian. Like, this isn't like secret hidden knowledge. It's just you don't love God, so you don't love the things of God. So you are naturally,
that's a good way to put it,
biased towards yourself and your the way you would.
So how do you explain you then? Because you're biased towards yourself, but you're a Christian.
God's working on it. But I just mean like your bias is your preference is you. It's not God.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you would have these hangups. And it makes sense that you would not trust the Easter egg that God hatched, which is his inclusive plan of salvation, which the only barrier is belief. It doesn't matter if you are the worst person in the world. It doesn't matter if you're a good person. We all, the only criteria is Jesus is Jesus Lord? Okay. Cool. That means something. You know what I'm saying? It's not just like a true or false question, but it is irrespective of your background or your ideologies coming into it, your beliefs, your boy or girl status, like all those things. The gospel in and of itself is the most inclusive ideology there's ever been. I'm not saying it's an ideology, but just to say it that way. When you add the clause good people, it is substantially less pleasant, and it will introduce chaos in heaven when you have half the people that are pissed at half the people who got there easy.
100%.
So I say all this to say that these are things that you can put in your belt that you have thought through, and you're able to be compassionate and sympathetic when people say the things that he says, but you understand profoundly why this is just not accurate. Not accurate. I mean, you do have to be okay with people just not understanding sometimes.
That is true. That is very true.
Just telling him like good person, like your definition is it's just impossibly shallow.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I mean, in my opinion, you could have this conversation in a very logical, God is not involved kind of way.
Yeah.
If you don't know a greater good God that is perfect, because he's saying earlier that like God, I do think highly of God. God is blah, 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 blah. If you know that he's all perfect and all powerful, why would you think you as a lowly human could figure out what good is?
Actually, thank you for saying that, Lauren.
What the heck?
Saying that. Thank you for saying that, because sometimes it's tempting to dismiss people who do esteem God in some capacity.
Yeah.
Just because maybe they're
I
not
appreciate that he has some
Christian.
knowledge of that.
It gives you something to work with, actually. It's like, okay, you believe this, then prove it.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Thank you. That's good. That's a good point.
Well, I'm not saying slap him around with it. I'm saying like
that is good.
I would want to ask questions based on that.
You should respond to the person you're talking to, not like the weirdo you built in your head.
Yes, not the scholarly situational thing you
good.
have.
I probably just said and you weren't even like agreeing with what I was saying.
I always agree with what you're saying.
Oh my God.
My little cyborg.
Anyways, I thought that was
Did you have anything else you wanted to cover, or this is just
that was kind of it?
Okay. Well, guys, thanks for being patient with our little addled, sleep-deprived minds today.
I promise to start sleeping more, y'all.
I know, same.
The Lord is revealing to me that it's.
Any chance you guys get, though, honestly, to encourage him to sleep more and possibly quit his job that he teaches Chinese students at like midnight.
Got to make money.
You know
what? Instead of telling me to quit, patreon.com/Mr. Moosey.
That's true. We need to be able to let him quit, y'all.
Exactly.
I want him to sleep more and not die young.
Forever young. Thank you guys. I love you guys a lot.
Love you.
This was great.
Love you guys so much.